An 11-year-old black girl built a tech empire to help kids like her brother, but when she boarded a first-class flight, she was treated like a criminal. The FBI showed up, and then. Before we start, leave a comment and indicate which city you are sharing from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. They say the sky's the limit. Funny. That morning, I believed I had already flown far past it. I was 11 years old. Black. Barely 4 feet tall. And I had just landed a multi-million-dollar deal with one of the biggest online learning platforms in the world. My name is Nova Belle. CEO of BrightMind, the AI-powered education app one built when I was 9. Don't laugh. Some kids play Minecraft. I coded math games in Python to help students with learning disabilities, like my big brother, Jordan. And now, thanks to that deal, BrightMind was officially going global. That morning, I stood at Gate 12 of Westwood International Airport, a shiny boarding pass in one hand, my small pink laptop bag slung over my shoulder, and my heart soaring even higher than the jet I was about to board. First class. Window seat. My reward for doing the impossible. What I didn't know was that I was about to be grounded, not by weather or delay, but by prejudice. Sorry, miss, this line is for first-class passengers only, the woman at the gate said, not even glancing up from her scanner. I am first class, I said, calmly handing her my ticket. She looked up. And froze. Her eyes scanned my face, my skin, my braids, my hoodie, and you could see it in her stare. The confusion. The doubt. The judgment. A pause. Then a laugh. Cute, she said. Now step aside. The real passengers are boarding. My breath caught in my throat. For a second, I thought maybe she was joking. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. But then she waved the next person forward, a white man in a suit, and let him pass with a smile. I stood there, stunned. Invisible. Until she called for security. They made me sit in the corner like I was a problem to be solved. My heart was pounding, but I refused to cry. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the pitch deck I'd presented yesterday to investors 3 times my age. Just to remind myself who I was. That's when my dad showed up. He had gone to grab coffee, 10 minutes tops, and when he saw me standing behind the rope, soaking in silent shame, something snapped inside him. Why is my daughter not on that plane? He demanded, voice shaking with fury. She tried to sneak into first class, the gate agent said without looking at him. My dad's face turned pale. She owns the company that built the learning system used in your airline's training department, he said through gritted teeth. She just signed a licensing deal with Novaed. Do you even know who you're talking to? The agent blinked. She's, what? 11? Yes, my dad said. And she's also a CEO. They let us on the plane eventually. After some calls. After checking again and again if the ticket was real. But the damage was done. People were staring. Whispering. Judging. Not just me, but all the other little black girls like me, dreaming big and walking tall. And I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next morning, I woke up to headlines I didn't expect. Is Nova Belle really a genius? Fraud allegations surface after airport incident. Too young, too fast. Critics question startup led by child CEO. Sources suggest tech prodigy may have faked credentials. Suddenly, my email was flooded. Our app servers were attacked. Our sponsors backed out. Anonymous threats. Hate mail. And then came the knock at the door, 3 letters on the badge. FBI. They said they were investigating fraud. Possible identity theft. Financial irregularities. All because a little black girl dared to sit in first class and own her brilliance. My hands were cold as they rifled through our files. My voice trembled as I answered questions like a criminal. My dad tried to shield me, but I could see it in his eyes, fear. That's when I realized this wasn't just about me. It was war. And someone powerful, someone bigger than a rude gate agent, wanted me shut down. But here's the thing. They don't know what I'm made of. They don't know what I've survived. And I wasn't about to quit now. When you're 11, you don't expect federal agents to know your name. But that morning, they did. 3 of them. Dark suits, crisp badges, stern faces. I was still in my pajamas, my favorite hoodie with a little rocket ship on the front, when they knocked. My dad answered the door. He tried to sound calm. "Can I help you?" "We're with the bureau," one of them said. "We'd like to speak with your daughter." "Nova Belle." My dad hesitated. "She's a child. She's also a registered CEO under SEC records. This concerns her company." Bright mind. The moment he said my company's name, a chill swept through me. I stepped into the hallway. My feet were bare. My heart felt heavier than my body. "I'm Nova," I said quietly. They looked at me, surprised. As if they expected someone, taller. Older. Whiter. "Miss Belle," the lead agent said, his voice flat, "we've received a formal complaint suggesting Brightmind's funding and IP claims may be fraudulent." I blinked. "Fraudulent?" He nodded. "Your investors are under review. Your patents are flagged. We need access to your files, your financials, your source code." My knees nearly gave out. Behind me, my dad stepped in, angry now. "You're accusing my daughter of what?" "She built that company with her own hands. That software helps kids who struggle, kids like my son." "We're not accusing her," the agent said coldly. "We're investigating." There's a difference. But it didn't feel like a difference. Not when they handed us a federal warrant. Not when they took my laptop, the one I'd built Brightmind on. Not when they told me not to leave town. That evening, our house felt like a war zone. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my now blank screen. They'd cloned everything. Even my draft designs for version 3. 2, my dad paced the room like a lion in a cage. "I'm calling the lawyers," he muttered. "This is madness." "But why now?" I whispered. "I've been building this for 2 years. Why wait until I got that deal?" He stopped walking. That's when it clicked. "It's the deal," he said slowly. "Noved. Someone doesn't want you to partner with them." "Who?" I asked. My dad looked at me. And that's when he said the name that would change everything. Corvus. Corvus Learning Systems. One of the biggest names in global education tech. Worth billions. With contracts in over 40 countries. They were known for swallowing up smaller companies, and crushing the ones who didn't sell. We'd said no to them. Twice. They'd offered to buy Brightmind last year. But I didn't build it to sell. I built it to matter, to help kids like Jordan. Kids like me. Now they were coming for us, not with offers. With lies. Later that night, my inbox blew up. Journalists wanted interviews. Trolls filled my DMs, another woke scam. "You stole that app. Go back to where you came from." But amid the noise, one message stood out. Short. Simple. Sent at 11:52 p.m. "You need a lawyer. Someone who believes you." The sender's name, Ava March. I'd never heard of her before. But something about that message felt like hope. When Ava March walked into our living room, she didn't look like a superhero. No cape. No briefcase. Just tight curls pulled back into a bun, a scar above her left eyebrow, and eyes that had clearly seen more than they ever said. She didn't shake my hand. She knelt. So we were eye level. "Nova," she said softly, "I've read your code. I've seen the updates. And I believe you. I blinked. You've read my code? Ava smiled faintly. I used to be a software engineer. MIT. Before law school. My jaw nearly dropped. You're a tech lawyer? I'm your tech lawyer now, she said. If you'll let me. She didn't waste time. Ava spread out files across our kitchen table like it was a war room. The FBI warrant. The cease and desist notice. Screenshots from articles trying to smear my name. She pointed to one headline in particular. Bright mind under fire, child CEO, maybe puppet for darker interests. Notice the wording, she asked. They're not just calling you a fraud. They're implying you didn't even build your company. That someone else did. That you're a prop. My throat tightened. But I did build it. I know you did, Ava said. The problem is, they're trying to bury that truth before anyone hears it. Over the next few hours, Ava outlined what we were really up against. And it was worse than we thought. Corvus Learning Systems had filed an anonymous complaint with the SEC and DOJ, claiming Brightmind was using stolen code, their code. It was a lie. But a dangerous one. And the moment the media picked it up, it became viral poison. Investors panicked. Sponsors pulled out. Even Novaed started to pause negotiations, corporate speak for we're scared. That's when Ava pulled out a manila folder and laid it in front of us. This, she said, is your defense. Inside were pages of time-stamped commits. GitHub logs. Chat threads. Even an email I'd sent to my teacher 2 years ago with my first beta build. You didn't just write this app, Ava said. You lived it. She looked at me with something rare in grown-ups. Respect. The next morning, Ava filed a motion for full discovery. She demanded Corvus turn over their own source logs and internal memos. They refused. So she filed a second motion, for injunction. And suddenly, the story changed. The press went from, is Nova Belle a fraud, to child CEO lawyered up, and fights back. Corvus refuses to share logs in lawsuit against 11-year-old prodigy. Ava smirked as we read the headlines. We've got their attention now, she said. That night, I sat by the window with my journal in my lap, watching the stars blink in and out of the city haze. Dad? I asked quietly. Yeah, baby. If I lose everything, will you still be proud of me? He turned from the kitchen, dish towel in hand, and looked at me like I was made of galaxies. Nova, he said, I've never been prouder in my life. You've already won. Just by standing up. He kissed my forehead and whispered, you've always been the brightest mind in this house. And that's when I knew, no matter how hard they came for me, I wouldn't stop. Because this wasn't just about my code. It was about every kid who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Every girl who was too black, too young, too loud, too brilliant. I was fighting for us all. It started with one van. White. Unmarked. Parked across from our house early one morning, then another. This one had a camera crew. By noon, there were 5. News trucks. Reporters. Paparazzi with long lenses and too many questions. Nova. Nova. Did you fake your app? Do you really know how to code, or was it your dad? Is Brightmind just a publicity stunt? I stayed inside. Curtains drawn. Laptop closed. Heart pounding. I was used to numbers, not microphones. Used to debugging loops, not defending my existence. The kitchen became our war room again. Ava sat beside me, calm and composed. They're trying to rattle you, she said. Don't let them. But why are they here? I asked. I didn't commit a crime. You committed something worse than a crime, Nova. Her voice was low. You succeeded. And you didn't ask for permission. The worst part came when my school principal emailed my dad. Due to recent developments in media presence, We believe it's best if Nova takes a short leave of absence. Translation: stay away. Too much attention. Too much noise. Too much, me. I stared at the screen, my chest heavy. I loved school. Not the tests, the science lab. The coding club. Even helping my math teacher set up a classroom app for kids who struggled. Now they didn't want me there. Even though I built the very tools they used. That night, Ava made a decision. We're going public, she said. What do you mean? My dad asked. A press conference. We take control of the story. We tell the truth ourselves. My stomach twisted. I'm just a kid. You're not just anything, Nova, Ava said. You're the voice they're trying to silence. That's exactly why you need to speak. I looked at her. Then at my dad. He gave me a soft nod. And just like that, it was settled. 2 days later, we stood on a small stage outside City Hall. Cameras everywhere. Reporters packed in like sardines. Some of them still whispering, still doubting. I was dressed in my favorite navy blazer, the one with the tiny rocket pin. The one that reminded me of where I was going. My dad stood behind me. Ava to my left. I stepped up to the mic. The crowd quieted. And I took a breath. My name is Nova Belle, I said. I'm 11 years old. I'm black. And I'm the founder and CEO of Bright Mind. I built this app to help students who learn differently. Because my brother, Jordan, has dyslexia. And I didn't want him to feel stupid ever again. My idea started in a bedroom. Not a boardroom. My first investor was my dad's savings account. And my first pitch deck was made with crayons. Scattered laughter. A few smiles. I went on. I never faked my code. I never faked my passion. The only thing I faked was pretending not to hear the people who said a kid like me couldn't do this. The crowd was silent now. So I finished. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm taking back my power. And I hope every kid watching knows, you don't need to look like the mold to matter. You just need a voice. And the courage to use it. The applause started slow. Then it erupted. My hands trembled as I stepped back. But I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't scared. But because for the first time since it started, I felt free. 3 days after the press conference, Bright Mind crashed. Just like that. 404 errors. Screens frozen. Thousands of students locked out. Teachers texting. Sponsors panicking. My phone buzzed non-stop. Ava's voice came through the hallway like a warning siren, Nova. We've been hacked. We rushed to the home server, not the big cloud servers Ava's firm managed, but my old backup. The one in the closet next to my room. I sat on the floor in my pajamas, hands flying over the keyboard, heart racing. They're inside the beta builds, I whispered. They've injected garbage code. Ava peered over my shoulder. Can you reverse it? I can try. But they knew where to look. They knew my structure. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a random attack. It was personal. The next day, we traced the breach to a masked IP chain bouncing through countries, Germany, Korea, Argentina, then landing back in the US. Only one signature kept appearing. A username embedded in the wreckage of our code, Shade 7. I stared at it for a long time. Because I knew that name. Not from my enemies. From a forum I used to post in when I was 9, a coding group for young programmers of color. Shade 7 was one of us. Brilliant. Quiet. Obsessed with encryption. I thought we were friends. Now, he was tearing me down. Ava made some calls. A cyber forensics team got involved. A digital war began, tracing files, recovering lost code, rebuilding servers. But for me, it wasn't just about security. It was heartbreak. Betrayal. When you're 11, you believe in allies. You believe that genius recognizes genius. But greed is louder. And fear is louder than both. That night, a new message appeared on my lockdown account. From Shade 7. Nothing personal. Just business. You were the future. Now you're the warning. They offered me 7 figures. You should have taken the buyout. I read it 3 times before closing my laptop. I didn't cry. But I didn't sleep either. The next morning, Ava met me at the kitchen table. Coffee in hand. Files under her arm. You okay? She asked. No, I said. But I will be. She smiled. That's my girl. Then she handed me a document. What's this? Corvus, she said. We got a whistleblower. I blinked. A what? Someone inside Corvus sent this anonymously. It's internal memos. Meeting logs. Emails about how they plan to discredit you. She paused. One of them even paid Shade 7 to sabotage Brightmind. My fingers tightened around the paper. They were scared of you, Nova. I nodded slowly. They still should be. The day the FBI called us back, I was in the middle of rewriting one of Brightmind's broken modules, the voice assist AI for kids with dyslexia. It was my favorite feature. The one Jordan helped me test when I first built it. I had just fixed the timing delay when my dad walked into my room. Nova, he said, holding the phone like it was on fire. It's them. Ava, my dad, and I drove to the federal office downtown. The room was cold. The walls were bare. The agents didn't smile. But this time, they weren't here to interrogate me. They were here to apologize. We've been reviewing the files, the lead agent said. And it appears you were right. Ava crossed her arms. Took you long enough. The agent winced. It's clear now that the anonymous tip came from an internal source at Corvus Learning Systems. The complaint was falsified. The evidence fabricated. I leaned forward. So, you're dropping the investigation? He nodded. Effective immediately. You're cleared. Entirely. I should have felt relief. But all I felt was rage. You raided my home, I said. You took my laptop. You told people I was a criminal. You were 11, Ava added, her voice sharp. And you treated her like a threat. The agent lowered his gaze. I'm sorry, he said. Truly. But apologies don't undo headlines. They don't fix broken trust. Or broken code. Outside, the sun hit my face for the first time in days. I looked up at the clouds. Freedom felt strange. Like a new pair of shoes I hadn't grown into yet. But then Ava pulled me aside. There's something else, she said. I didn't want to say it in there. She handed me a USB drive. This was in the file they gave us. I plugged it into my laptop on the drive home. And there it was, Project Phoenix, internal memo, Corvus Learning Systems. A bullet point plan. Acquire Brightmind at 18% of valuation, leak fraud complaint to suppress PR value, use minor's age to discredit ownership, offer NDA plus settlement before launch. They hadn't just tried to destroy me. They planned it. Down to the percentage. Down to the silence. That night, I held the USB in my hand like a matchstick. And for the first time since it all began, I wanted to burn the whole thing down. But Ava had a better idea. We go to Congress, she said. We go public. We make this viral. And we force them to answer. I stared at her, unsure. You mean, like a hearing? She nodded. And a press conference. And an exposé. And every legal weapon we've got. My fingers tightened. I had been a founder. Now I was becoming a fighter. When we got the call from Congress, my dad dropped his coffee. Ava just said, "It's go time." They wanted me, an 11-year-old black girl, to testify. Not as a victim. As a witness. As a founder. As a voice. The hearing was scheduled for the following week in D.C. Topic: Tech monopolies, whistleblowers, and the ethics of corporate sabotage. Subtopic: The case of Brightmind versus Corvus Learning Systems. My name was on the official docket. I read it over and over. Nova Belle, CEO, Brightmind Technologies. The night before we flew out, I sat with my dad on the porch. The stars were barely visible. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified," I admitted. He chuckled. "That means you care." I looked up at him. "What if I freeze? What if I mess up?" He wrapped an arm around me. "Nova, even if you whisper, the truth will still be louder than their lies." I didn't sleep much that night. But I packed my journal. And I made a promise to myself, I'd tell the whole story. The Capitol building felt like a cathedral made of rules. Cold. Intimidating. Full of sharp suits and fake smiles. I wore a dark blue dress with a bright yellow headband, like a little piece of sun I could carry with me. Ava walked beside me. Calm. Focused. Unshakable. "We don't play defense today," she whispered. We set the fire. The room was packed. Cameras. Reporters. Lawmakers. At the far end sat the Corvus executive team, all men in gray suits, sitting like they owned the place. One of them winked at me. That's when I decided I would burn him down first. "Miss Belle," the chairman said into the mic, "you may begin." I stepped forward. Voice clear. Shoulders back. Heart roaring. "My name is Nova Belle. I'm 11 years old. I'm the founder and CEO of Brightmind Technologies. And I'm here today because a billion-dollar company tried to erase me." Gasps. Pens scribbling. Phones recording. I built Brightmind to help children learn, especially kids who are told they're slow or broken or not enough. Just like my brother. Just like I was told. I paused. Let the silence settle. Corvus Learning Systems tried to buy me. I said no. They tried to silence me. I said no. They tried to break me. And I'm still saying no. I turned to the row of executives. "And I've read every line of your leaked memo." One of the men shifted uncomfortably. Another narrowed his eyes. I didn't stop. "You didn't just attack a business. You attacked a child. You tried to use my age, my skin, my silence, as your shield. You failed." The room erupted. A lawmaker leaned into his mic. "Miss Belle, are you saying that Corvus fabricated evidence to trigger an FBI investigation?" "Yes, sir," I replied calmly. "They paid a hacker to frame me. They lied about my code. They used legal intimidation to try and shut me down." "And how did you respond?" I looked straight ahead. I did what I always do. I fixed the bug. And I rebuilt myself. The next speaker was Ava. She presented the whistleblower memo. The hacked files. The corporate timeline. Each slide hit like a gavel. By the time she finished, even the Corvus executives were sweating. The chairman leaned forward. "I think this committee has seen enough." He turned to me again. "Miss Belle, you said you created Brightmind to help children feel seen. Today, I think you've helped a lot of adults feel the same way." We left the chamber to thunderous applause. Reporters shouted questions. Supporters waved signs. My social media exploded. Kids from all over the world sent messages. "You made me believe I can be something. They tried to erase you. But you made them remember. I want to be like you." That night, in the hotel, I opened my journal. And I wrote 5 words across the top of a blank page. Now the real work begins. The hearing made headlines across the country. By morning, I was everywhere. TV anchors called me the prodigy who torched a tech empire. Editorials hailed my courage. Kids sent fan art, but the most surprising message came in the form of a voice note. From Shade 7. I was in my room, trying to focus on rebuilding the Bright Mind 3. 2 core, when the notification popped up. 1 new voice message, anonymous contact. I hesitated. Then hit play. His voice was soft. Shaky. Like someone who had built walls around his soul, and just realized they were prison bars. Nova. I didn't think they'd actually go after you. I thought it was just your app. Just business. But watching you speak. I'm sorry. I was wrong. They used me. I let them. Silence. Then, I'd like to help fix what I broke. If you'll let me. I didn't respond right away. I just sat there, staring at the laptop screen, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to block him forever. But another part, the bigger part, remembered what it felt like to be underestimated. Misled. Pushed into a corner. The next day, I asked Ava if it would be crazy to call him back. Depends what you want out of it, she said. I don't want revenge, I said slowly. I want restoration. For everyone. Ava nodded. Then you're wiser than most adults I know. So we set up a video call. Shade 7's real name was Malik. He was 15. A high school sophomore from Michigan. Wore glasses too big for his face and a sweatshirt with the hood up the whole time. He looked embarrassed. Why'd you do it? I asked. No anger. Just truth. He didn't dodge. I wanted to be seen, he said. I'd been trying to get into the tech world forever. They told me I'd never get a seat at the table. Then Corvus offered one, with money. They bought my silence. My code. My guilt. I stared at him. You still want a seat at the table? I asked. He nodded. Then helped me build a bigger table. That week, Malik joined Bright Mind. Quietly, at first. He wrote patches for the corrupted code. Rebuilt features he once tried to break. Left comments in the margins like, I'm sorry, Nova. This one's clean. I promise. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. But it did mean believing people could change. And letting healing do the work justice couldn't finish. Later that week, I got another unexpected message. From Principal Herrera. My school principal. Nova, we were wrong. The school board would like you to come back. We're proud of you. I stared at the screen. And then typed something I never thought I would. Thank you. I'll come back after the launch. But I want to teach coding twice a week, to kids like Jordan. His reply came almost instantly. Deal. The world had tried to turn me into a warning. Now I was becoming a bridge. From shame to strength. From silence to spotlight. From broken systems to bold futures. Launch day didn't feel like a celebration. It felt like a reckoning. Not because we weren't ready. Because the world was. The new Bright Mind 3. 2 wasn't just a patch. It was a full transformation, built from scratch by me, Malik, and our tiny team of underdogs who refused to quit. We didn't have Corvus's billions. We had belief. The launch livestream was held in the city library downtown, the same one my mom used to take me to every Saturday before she passed. The irony didn't escape me. That the same library where I learned to code on free public computers was now where I was unveiling a platform that would change education for kids like me, forever. We had 112 in-person guests. And over 800,000 watching online. I stepped up to the podium. The same yellow rocket pin still on my lapel. And I spoke. I built Bright Mind for the kid who's been called slow. For the kid whose parents can't afford a tutor. For the girl who speaks 3 languages but gets ignored in math class. This app isn't perfect. But it's real. And it's ours. No corporate takeover. No fake talent. No billion-dollar erasure. A beat. And we built it in pajamas. With headaches. In courtrooms. Under fire. And still, we're here. The audience was silent. Not because they were bored. Because they were listening. Really listening. I clicked the launch button. And just like that, Bright Mind 3.2 went live. Instantly, messages began pouring in. My son just solved his first word puzzle. This new speech-to-text feature is incredible. My daughter finally feels smart. I smiled. Not the kind you fake for the press. The kind that starts in your chest. And travels all the way to your soul. Later that night, Ava stood beside me on the roof of the building, city lights twinkling below. You know, she said, a few months ago, no one in the industry even knew your name. I liked it better that way, I joked. She smiled. But now, they know it. And they respect it. She handed me a letter. It had the seal of the White House on it. My hands shook. I opened it slowly. Dear Nova Belle, your story has inspired the nation. You have turned adversity into action, and shown us what leadership looks like in its truest form. I would like to personally invite you to the National Summit on Educational Innovation as our keynote speaker. I stopped reading. Tears filled my eyes. Not because of the letter. Because Jordan came up behind me, hugged me tight, and whispered, "You made something just for me. And now the whole world gets to feel what I feel." They handed me the mic in front of thousands. The National Summit on Educational Innovation was the kind of event I used to watch online from my bedroom. Now I was the keynote speaker. The youngest. The first black girl. And the only one who got here by walking through fire. The stage lights were blinding. Rows and rows of politicians, tech CEOs, educators, and students looked up at me, waiting. Not with doubt. With respect. I adjusted the mic. My hands didn't shake this time. I took a breath. And I spoke. I didn't come here today to tell you how to run your companies. I came to tell you what it feels like to be erased. The room fell into a hush. When I built Bright Mind, I wasn't trying to be famous. I was trying to help my brother. He has dyslexia. And every time he looked at a textbook, he thought he was dumb. I knew he wasn't. I just needed the world to see what I already knew. But when Bright Mind started growing, people got nervous. They didn't see a CEO. They saw a threat. They saw a black girl in first class and assumed she didn't belong. I paused, letting the silence stretch. I was investigated. Hacked. Laughed at. Humiliated in an airport lounge I owned. They said I was too young. Too black. Too bold. That I was just a fluke, a fraud, a prop. But I wasn't any of those things. I was prepared. I was ready. And I'm still here. Applause erupted. But I wasn't done. I stepped forward. And I know I'm not the only one. There are thousands of kids just like me, building, dreaming, inventing, while the world doubts them because of how they look or where they come from. To every kid watching this, I want you to hear me clearly. I leaned into the mic. You don't need permission to be brilliant. You don't need a fancy address or a rich last name. You need a voice. And the courage to use it. I stepped back from the podium as the entire room rose to its feet. People clapping. Crying. Cheering. Even some of the same people who once doubted me. And that's when I spotted him. Malik, shade 7, in the audience. He clapped too, eyes shining. A silent nod between us said everything. Forgiveness. Redemption. Brotherhood. Later, after the summit, the president shook my hand. A tech giant offered me a partnership. A school principal asked me to design a national curriculum. And one little girl ran up and said, "I didn't think I could be smart until I saw you." I hugged her tight. "You already are," I whispered. "Now go build something amazing." That night, back home, I stood on my rooftop with Jordan beside me. The city pulsed below. "You know," he said, "you changed everything." I smiled. "No," I said. "We did." And in the sky above us, a single bright star blinked through the dark. Like a cursor. On a brand new line. Ready to be written.